Hey, I'm Tim from Chaotic Great. I'm here to teach you how to play Gudnak. Gudnak is set in a dying world. The sun's dying. That's what's represented on this card here, in case you didn't know. Also, I think this is important, the logo can be read upside down. We put a lot of effort into that, and I feel like you should know that before learning how to play this game. Welcome. All right, so the point of this game is to siege your opponent's stronghold. The problem is their deck full of fighters is going to be right on top. I'm going to teach you how to get through there and siege that stronghold. Today I'm playing the Refractory. The Refractory worships Solara, who is the sun. And they think that these people might be responsible for it dying. So you can imagine they're pretty pissed about that whole thing. I'm playing against the Shardsworn. They're a coalition of elves and goblins and orcs, and they have to be migrating south from their home because it's getting cold because the sun's dying. So they're also kind of pissed. I would say most people in this game are pretty pissed. And so we're gonna fight. Here we go. So to start the game, you put your deck of 20 cards on top of your stronghold. What's really cool in Gudnak is that the decks are symmetrical. So we each have 20 cards. 10 of those cards are basic fighters. 5 of those cards are heroes. 5 of them are tactics. And all the fighters have the same power. So it's really a game about getting a tiny advantage over your opponent so that you can outlast them until the end. Okay, at the start of each turn, you're going to draw a card. Just like that. Then you move on to your action phase. Your action phase allows you to do up to 2 actions, and there are a bunch of different types. The first one is you can draw a card. You can do the same action twice in this game, so you can spend your whole turn drawing cards. There's no hand limit. Have fun. It's probably not a winning strategy, but you can do it. The second thing you can do is deploy a fighter. So you can take one of those really cool fighters and you can deploy it onto the battlefield. You can't deploy it anywhere. These 3 squares are called your back row. They're closest to your stronghold. That means that's where your fighters can kind of get out there and start doing the business. So you can place a fighter in any empty square, that's called deploy, that's in your back row here. Okay, so this is my hand here. There's 2 types of cards with big visual distinctions. So there's tactics, like this, and fighters that look like this. So fighters have these traits. This is a soldier represented by the sword. This guy's a brute. He's represented by like the big hammer, and this is a hunter represented by this spear. There's kind of like a rocks, paper, scissors thing going on where hunters are really good at fighting brutes and brutes are really good at fighting soldiers. Okay, so you can also deploy a fighter on top of another fighter with the same trait. Just has to share one trait. So like this paladin is both a hero and a soldier, and he could go on this stack. You can stack as many fighters as you like. I think the record is 8 fighters right now, so have fun trying to break that. Okay, so that was the deploy ability. Once your fighters are on the battlefield, they can take what's called the move action. So you can move them around. You move to an adjacent empty square. Can't move diagonally in this game. But on your turn, after your fighter takes any type of action, so after you deploy it, after you move with it, it gets tired. In this game, we call that fatigue. And you can't take actions with fatigued fighters. So you can't move this soldier after you deploy him, and you can't move him twice on the same turn. The next action is called attack. And for this action, we have to bring out one of these. It's an elf, but bear with me. Okay, in order to attack, you choose a fighter that's in an adjacent square, again, not diagonal, and you compare the power. In this case, this is a power 1 soldier facing a power 1 ranger. Normally, if they have the same power, both of these fighters would be destroyed. But like I said, there's a rocks, paper, scissors thing happening in Gudnak, and this soldier has an ability where he says, Solaran soldier has +1 when attacking a hunter. This elf so happens to be a hunter, so this is a power 2 soldier, kills the elf, good riddance, and goes into the middle. All right, the next type of action is printed right on the hero's card. So the Solaran soldier has a type of ability called a passive ability that's always active. This Elven Ranger, however, has an ability that you have to activate with an action. It's called an action ability. Great name. So it says longbow, destroy target non-adjacent enemy 1. So on their turn, they could spend an action to destroy this soldier right here. The next type of action is called defend, and you only have access to this action if there's an enemy in your gates. So your gates is right here. It's right at the gates of your stronghold. That's important. And this is the square that in Gudnak you want to defend the most. So if there's an enemy right there, you can discard a number of cards from your hand equal to its power. So in this case, 1. It doesn't matter what type of card. So you could discard this 3, You could discard this one, you could discard a tactics, and you destroy that fighter right there. Okay, I said at the beginning that the way that you win this game is by sieging your opponent's stronghold, and the gates are important for that. So at the beginning of your turn, during your start phase, if there's a fighter in your gates, instead of drawing a card, you put that card in the graveyard. So that's bad news. Even worse news, if your stronghold is exposed and there's an enemy at your gates during your start phase, you lose the game because your stronghold is destroyed. After your action phase on your turn, you take those 2 actions, you move to your end phase. All that happens here is your fighters are no longer fatigued and you pass your turn to your opponent. So that's how you play Gudnak. There's all sorts of ways for you to customize your deck. In addition to these 2 factions, we have 4 more factions. They all play super different. And we even have 4-player modes like free for all and